Love and Zillage, Love and Zillage, the best friends in the NASCAR village. This I tell you, brother, on Saturday I thought it was over. Love and Zillage, Love and Zillage. Connor broke the bro code and Jesse sent them spinning, but they still went golfing and took pictures of each other napping. Love and Zillage, Love and Zillage, go together like Vikings and pillage. Catch them shake and baking. You can't have one, you can't have none. You can't have one without the other.
Now we're back. Welcome into Happy Hour.
Jump the gun there?
Good thing you're on mute.
Well, for me on the video, it like lagged. So like there was just a bunch of end with no sound. So I thought we were done. And then I started. And then I realized we were, your video was still playing. So I'm hoping everyone else got it normally. I didn't, for whatever reason. My internet is starting off hot today. So great song by the one and only Michael Massie. As always, Puke Combs delivering it here. Welcome to Happy Hour. Caleb Barnes filling in for Dalton Hopkins, who may or may not have gotten lost at a Long John Silver's, or conspiracy theory time. Did Caleb trap him at a Long John Silver's just so he could be on this podcast today?
I forgot to send a picture, but I was there today. I did not see Dalton though. He might have got lost at Talladega. I think
he was at Talladega this weekend.
there. So
I am, Talladega might have forgot to picture Dalton when they say the things left behind, because he could be there was a nice couch there if you saw that thread. Joining us now for our guest this week is Collin Fern. He is from Shake and Bake Sports. And Collin, thanks so much for joining us. My first question is, are you a victim of Michael Massie in iRacing? And if so, would you join in a class action lawsuit against him for how many times he's wrecked people in iRacing? Because basically everyone I've met who's iRaced with Michael Massie has been wrecked by Michael Massie.
No, I don't think I have, but usually there's a big gap between us on track, like I'll be up there in the top 3 and he'll be, have a 2 in front of his number. So I've never really, I don't think I've ever.
Sometimes a 1.
Michael, have I?
Sometimes a 1 in front of the
I
number.
I know SVG jumped can I swear on here?
Yes.
No?
So yes.
Ken?
We'll allow it. Kenny Wallace did it all. The last time we had a podcast, Kenny Wallace just kept going.
Jumped the crap out of me in a championship race. And Alfredo and I have gotten into it a few times, and Bickford, and there's been quite a few. I haven't been on iRacing in a year, but I'm not popular on that game. I'll be honest with you. I kind of race how people don't want to be raced.
So you're saying if Chipper Jones was watching iRacing, he would come after you on Twitter?
Absolutely not. Chipper would be a big fan of me. I don't cry about it. If someone wrecks me, I just wreck them,
Okay, gotcha.
What I'm hearing is Michael Massie's just a step below SVG and Anthony Alfredo. So like you're almost there.
There's a couple drivers in NASCAR to compare Michael to. I don't want to say any names out loud, but I'm sure we kind of can all figure it out in each series, kind of where he's at.
Hey, I think I could beat Jesse Wuji. I actually did beat Jesse Wuji on iRacing one time. So.
Congrats.
I wouldn't be the worst out there, is what I'm saying.
Well, anyway, welcome to Happy Hour. As always, sit back, relax, crack open that cold one. And if you're like Chase Folsom, who I think it's next week he's turning 21. If you're of age, you can drink. Otherwise, don't. It's illegal. And if you're driving, don't drink as well, because here at Front Stretch, we ask for responsible driving. And as always, leave your comments in the Front Stretch garage. You can also comment and guess, again, what race am I showing right behind me here? Caleb and Massie can't say it because I already told them before. But Collin, if you have a guess, feel free to shout it out. But it's actually when Talladega was good.
EA Sports 500?
It is not 2001 EA Sports 500. Nope. but
That's
it
a
is at
good
Talladega.
Yeah, you got the track right.
You got the track right.
You're
It
close
is
on the year.
I had to pick a good Talladega race.
I gotta see Jimmy's in there, so that's a 2002 or 2003 race.
It's not those 2 years, but you're getting
Really?
closer.
Yeah,
No.
very-
Really?
Warming up.
If I just keep saying numbers, I'll get there eventually. Let's
I'm
see,
gonna-
years in
I'll
41.
drop it in the I'll drop it in the private chat.
I kind of want to know now.
I just dropped in the private chat if you can see the private chat. But if not, you can go to the end of the episode and
Okay.
wait for it there. All right. As always, sit back, relax, crack over that cold one, and let's get into it. And Collin, you are part of a new adventure that is pretty interesting with a lot of young drivers in the sport, most notably Jesse Love and Connor Silich, as well as Daniel Dye. It's called Shake and Bake Sports. So my first question to you is, where did the concept come from? And like for people that kind of don't understand it, what is it? Because I've seen a video of you guys just like shooting the breeze, playing some golf. It seems like something for you guys to do outside of the track.
Well, the vision of it came from, we just golf and we hang out and we do fun stuff, right? Like, and these guys have personalities, and that's kind of where, mine and Rip's vision came from. Is I always use Christopher Bell as an example, but I'll preface it with Christopher Bell is one of the top 3 best drivers in our sport, no question about it. Well, Christopher Bell will never be the superstar that he could be. He's a young, good-looking guy, drives for a good team, wins races. He'll never be the superstar because he's vanilla, right? Nobody knows much about him. And maybe that's by design and maybe it's not. But, these guys are the future of our sport. And for them to show their personality and build a fan base beyond just, them taking pictures of each other napping and Connor making fun of Jesse getting DQ'd, right? Like beyond that, these guys are going to be the future, and we want them to build a fan base, whether it's inside the sport, outside the sport, on the golf course, or just people that enjoy and watch fun content. So just giving them that outlet and allowing them to kind of expand their horizons, and at the same time, we're kind of just filming the stuff we always do. We're not doing anything super different than we do when the cameras aren't around.
Yeah, that's the thing I've noticed is that like Jesse, Connor, Daniel, like it's such a breath of fresh air to see them come in and actually have like personality in the sport. And I just, I'm just praying that when they get to the cup level that PR doesn't choke it out of them. I don't think it will. But how did you start like get into golfing with those guys to start with?
So about 2.5 years ago or so, we just started like this kind of weekly golf, or I say weekly, it's probably monthly golf tournament where we just invite people and have a good time. And it started out where it was kind of just me and Patrick Gallagher and Will Rogers. And then it turned into, Jesse started coming around, Brent Cruz started coming around, Brent's dad, Matt Langford came around, and it eventually turned into about 12, 15 person event every time we did it. And it was a lot of fun, went to different golf courses. And, other than that, we kind of just started hanging out. And, for me, it's a little weird because those guys are just a little bit younger, but, they're all just so mature for their age and have the ability to carry on a meaningful conversation. And it's, when we're at the golf course or we're on the lake or at the racetrack, these guys are just fun individuals. And it's important, for me as somebody that's a race fan, right, is to give these guys an opportunity and just build that fan base and show their personalities.
I know a lot of people we know about Connor Zilich and Jesse Love and their interactions both on the track and then off the track and posting pictures of each other napping and then the back and forth and the friendship they have. But what's it been like to get to see the other guys, Daniel Dye, Will Rogers, some of these other people that you were talking about come in and get to mix in and have that friendship and have that relationship? And what's it been like to get to see that develop and then now also getting to kind of show everybody else the kinds of fun that y'all are getting to have off the track?
Well, it's funny, right? Because everyone has these big friend groups, and everyone kind of has their roles, right? And so Daniel's the entertainment. No matter where we go, what we're doing. Daniel is the entertainment. Daniel is funny as all hell, and it can be dry humor. It can be, fun humor. Daniel's just the entertainment, right? And Jesse is the competitive one. No matter what we're doing, Jesse makes a competition out of it. Connor's there just to have a good time and hang out, right? And Will also is incredibly competitive. And Rip is a great golfer. Alex Forey, who's the 500 Club professional, he's a PGA professional. He's actually the number 1 ranked one-armed golfer in the world. He's kind of come in and he's right there with Daniel on the entertainment, man. Like he is not shy when the cameras are around or whether they're not. So it's just fun to kind of see everyone's roles develop. We know what it is off camera and carrying that on camera. It's just a lot of fun. And I think it's a great thing for the sport.
Yeah, of the drivers there, I'm guessing
who's the best? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, who's the best? Don't say yourself. Who's the best of them? First off, and then
the best golfer.
Yeah, and then obviously, the pro golfer is going to be the best, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jesse and Daniel are really close. Jesse and Daniel are both really good. Jesse's a phenomenal putter, and Daniel can hit the ball incredibly far. When we started this, we thought we tried getting Brent Cruz in. If Brent was there, Brent would be the best golfer by far.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Brent is an unbelievable athlete, and we were having it. Sorry, the dog is just needy.
It's all good.
I did Bosey's podcast on Sunday, and Coda just kept making appearances after appearance because he wants to be up here. But yeah, Brent would probably have been the best golfer, and Jesse and Daniel are not too far behind.
Is Daniel the best trash talker?
He's definitely the one that gets under your skin the most. I wouldn't say he's the best trash talker. Jesse is really dry and like says things that are like, oh, like fuck you, man. Like what the fuck? Like that's kind of where Jesse's at. And it's just, but yeah, I'd say probably Daniel's the best trash talker. Can you get down? Thank you.
So you're all playing for charities. And if you go to @_SNB Sports on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it's the Driven to Give standings. Why, adding that concept to it, was that something that just kind of naturally came about, or was it something where like, hey, we can use our platform for even more than, just a couple of buddies playing golf?
Well, it's definitely using the platform, right? I mean, between everybody, between the SMB Sports page, all the drivers, everyone's social media pages, there's close to 1 million followers. And so if we can get those people to, join us and watch our product, watch our content, and ideally, right, the goal at the end of this is to build something that can make money, right? On YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. Like that's what the end goal is. It's going to make money. Just to be point blank about it. But let's be honest, these guys are going to be making a lot of money racing in NASCAR for a long time. So the Driven to Give standings is kind of something where everybody has something that's important to them and a cause that's important to them. Daniel has his own charity. Will has his own charity. And so it's just an opportunity to not just not bet, right? We're not betting anything, but these opportunities to give back to different charities and it gives you something else to fight for, right? Other than just a little trophy or bragging rights or anything like that. It's $50 a person. Every event that we're doing is getting donated. And actually the last episode we donated $1,000. I won't say who won it if you haven't watched it yet, but donated $1,000 to the charity. And that's going to be all the way through the end of the season. And the goal is to eventually have some sort of playoff system, right? That kind of mirrors the Xfinity Series playoffs and, kind of have a little prize fund there too.
All right. Oh, well, we'll allow you to plug it at the end, but we'll let you plug it here too. Where can people go and watch the content, see the content, and check you guys out?
Yeah, I mean, we're very active on all socials. We're @_SNB Sports on every social media page: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and then on YouTube it's @Shake and Bake Sports. Or if you just search Shake and Bake Sports, it's got a big blue and white checkered end.
All
What
right,
is the
boys.
golf equivalent of a shake and bake? Gotta ask that.
Gosh, that's a good question. You know, these guys are kind of dumbasses with the golf carts. You know, we gotta behave at the 500 club when we go, and these guys are, I mean, they're racing. Like that's something that, you know, people think, oh, they're racing all day, they don't want to go out and I mean, these guys are racing golf carts from tee box to green, and I don't want to say they're beating the hell out of each other, but they're getting aggressive. So I don't know if you can drop to fifth gear and pull out a line like Ricky Bobby did, but I'd say that's pretty close.
Days of Thunder rental cars, but with golf carts.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean the trailer's got so, who ran into someone ran into Daniel Dye in the trailer, right?
Oh my gosh. So we're looking how this happened, and that was actually a clip from our third episode. So you can see the whole thing in that just dropped on Monday. But we handicapped it by everyone playing from different tees. Instead of giving strokes to people, everyone just played from a different tee box. And we have one guy, Rip, who's an unbelievable golfer, and he's playing from all the way in the back. Well, Connor's normally used to playing a couple tees up from that. And so Connor's just looking at the scorecard, like trying to figure out how far the next hole is going to be. And everyone's stopping because if you've been to a golf course, you've got to stop at the tips. Well, everyone's stopping, and he's looking at the scorecard, and he run right into the back. I mean, full speed. You know, those things are going 8, 9, 10 miles an hour, but he hit them pretty good.
Well, something that did not feel so good. Well, I don't know if it felt good for them was the wins of Austin Cindric and Sammy Smith over the last 2 weeks. I know, Massie, you wanted to touch on that as we move on to our next topic.
Yeah, so Sammy Smith, Martinsville, gets himself a 50-point penalty. Then he wins. That penalty's essentially
He wins because he because he didn't finish first.
He was the first legal car. But yeah, so essentially penalty wiped out. Austin Cindric, Rex Ty Dillon at Coda, gets himself a 50-point penalty. He wins this week. Penalty is essentially wiped out. Now it matters, I guess, if they miss the top 10 in points by less than 50 points because they'll miss out on a couple playoff points. But like, what do we think, guys? Are we not penalizing people too much? Like, what do we think these penalties are? Like, should we go more severe with like rough driving penalties? Or is it fine how it is? Like, should it just be a slap on the wrist? It kind of is a full race suspension with 50 points if you don't win. But like, a guy that's going to win a race, I feel like it doesn't really phase him. Let's start with you, Collin. What do you think about the like rough driving penalties right now?
I got two opinions on it. Number one should be let these guys freaking fight, man. Like if Taylor Gray, wholeheartedly, Taylor Gray in the last 2 Martinsville races has had the utmost right to go punch a dude in the mouth. Let him go punch the dude if you get punched in the mouth, you're going to stop acting like a dipshit. That's point blank. It's happened to me. Right? I run my mouth, get punched in the mouth, you stop acting like a dipshit. It's just, that's what happens. Right? And I don't know how to say this correctly, but the 2 people you mentioned, right, as talented as they are in a race car, they both have the connections and or the money that they'll always be in a race car. Right? It's not going to affect them, their career path. It's not. So what can you do to make it worse? Take away their playoff eligibility. You wreck someone on purpose, you don't get to make the playoffs. Your whole season's shot right there. Like now, and now that's the tough part, right? Austin was 100% justified. If you go back and watch the replay, Austin was 100% justified to go right rear Ty Dillon. Ty ran him right off the racetrack for no reason, for 19th place, right? So that it's a strike zone call because that is not nearly as egregious as Sammy driving 4 car lengths deep or Austin at Richmond last year driving 4 car lengths deep. Like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what's too egregious and what's not. I just feel like that's kind of the point. So maybe you have a tier, right, where your playoff eligibility is taken away, and then you have the 50 points and money, and then you have whatever that is, right? It's just let them go punch some dude in the mouth. If they're that mad about the race, go punch someone in the mouth. As soon as one guy goes down, move on.
Yeah, hockey rules. Exactly. What do you think, Trey?
I was gonna say it's unique because yes, it's more than a race suspension, but theoretically speaking, it would be the same thing as if they didn't use the waiver rule that is in place now and just it for example, the same thing that happened to Austin Cindric would be as if Austin Dillon right after Richmond got suspended he didn't get suspended. He just lost his win. Well,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
He lost, and then he wins the next week at Daytona, whatever the next race was. I think it was Daytona, but might have been whatever. He wins at Daytona right before the playoffs. Same, relatively close enough, right? It'd basically be the same thing.
Yeah.
And yes, it kind of makes it a moot point. I think maybe not for Cindric as much as it would hurt Sammy Smith in terms of the top 10 in points, because at this point, Cindric was so far behind. Even with the 50 points, I don't think he would have gotten in the top 10. But we're sitting here, and Austin Cindric also could have had multiple wins this season. He was probably the best car at Daytona and Atlanta and lost both those races. So it's not like he's been a non-competitive car and then had that weird moment. And, for Sammy Smith, I mean, theoretically, if Jesse Love didn't have, a cheated up race car, then he doesn't have the win and the penalty matters. So at this point, I get people crying foul, but that's a lot. This is a lot of Monday morning quarterback. I agree with Collin. Punch the dude. Maybe we need a hockey fight rule. I remember it was after Larson did something to someone and Bubba was asked about it. I think it was at Richmond. And he's like, well, I know because of what I did, even though I got suspended for it, I'm not going to, he's not going to do it to me because I made my statement. And it wasn't just the fact that he reared him. It was the fact that Bubba wanted to try to fight him. And I think that, a guy we talked about at the start of the show was Austin, or before we went on the air, was Austin Hill. And we're going to talk about him at the end with the latest trend going on Twitter. That's a guy you don't want to, he's a guy that will fight you. He's done it. And I don't know what's the fine line between an all out brawl and maybe you're right. Just hockey rule it where it's the two guys, get a minute just to kind of do their thing. The only difference is in a hockey fight, you're wearing pads and stuff and not near heavy metal race cars that if you just hit someone or punch your hand into it, you break your hand. And you can have so that could cost you even more. But I don't know. What do you think, Caleb? Do you think that it's kind of foul these penalties, or where do you stand on this?
I think that's kind of the point of the penalties, but also the playoff system. The winning you're in is you can overcome any sort of deficit. And I am glad that they did the whole playoff points would be forfeited if there's a waiver granted for suspension or skipping a race without any excuse. And that would have been interesting to see since this stuff all happened before the drivers both got their wins, if they still would have gotten those playoff points. I'm not quite sure how that would have worked, but I hope with both of these guys having those issues and getting the severe penalties, but then still winning, I hope it kind of encourages NASCAR to be oh, maybe we should actually suspend these guys, because that does make more of a point if NASCAR is going to suspend. But I go back to kind of the same line of thought. If these things will get handled the weekend of instead of on a Tuesday afterwards, then I don't even think it's a conversation that we have to have now, whether they end up fighting it out or even if NASCAR holds someone like Austin Cindric or Sammy Smith or dox them their position or something like that after the race to like penalize them there in the moment rather than like, oh, well, now we got to go back and look. And does this qualify as something that we're going to suspend them for or just give them this big points penalty or anything? Versus if they just let them handle it and take care of it on pit road or with a lap penalty or something like that. Like that's still, for me, is still the preferred end goal. But I don't have an issue with these guys getting wins after a big penalty like that, even if they did get like fully suspended for a week or two. I think that's still part of it. That's still part of the playoff game as well. And because then you start going down the line of like, what if someone like Sammy Smith or Austin Cindric go and win 2-3 more races throughout the year? And like at some point, like I don't know that you can punish a guy an entire season for one mistake, because I know we're kind of harping on Joey Logano and his beef with Chipper Jones after Talladega on social media. That's continued a little bit to today. But like, I understand, like, you're in the heat of the moment in a race car, competitive people. Some people are a little bit more competitive than others, and you say and do things, and then you get out the car. I think I mentioned like Ross Chastain gets out and takes off the helmet, and sometimes he's like, doesn't even fully remember everything that happened inside the race car. So I think it's like unfair to punish a guy's full season for one mistake on the racetrack. But at the same time, but maybe it'll encourage NASCAR to be like, you know what, we can go full length on these penalties like they kind of said that they were going to at the start of the year. Because you never want to, it's always like that cautionary of like, who's going to be the first guy to get suspended and lose their playoff points, and how's that going to affect the rest of their season? And we get to the round of 8 and so like Austin Cindric misses the round of 8 where he could have won Talladega, and all these hypotheticals, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, I like what you said, Caleb, about the like do it there at the track, the penalty, and like we don't even have to worry about points and stuff after that or playoff or anything. Like Sammy Smith, I know it was the end of the race, but drop him, put him last, put him end of the
DQ
lead
guys
lap.
after like an hour after the race. I mean,
Yeah, or Cindric. So Cindric was early in the race. You could have just parked him
for
right
2
then
laps
and there.
or whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that'd be the best way. And obviously, I'd love to just let them fight, and that's why that Bubba Wallace Kyle Larson one did get so intense, because they're wrecked right there in the infield grass, and there's nobody there to break it up. I thought Bubba was gonna like get on top of him and just like start wailing there for a second.
And part of that too, right? Like you mentioned Austin Hill. Yes, Austin Hill is a big boy, but before Myatt Snyder, people probably confronted him, right? And then they saw that right haymaker, and they were like, "Oh, probably don't want to mess with this guy." And so now he, as you can see, a lot of races kind of has free reign because no one's going to confront him. like the only person that's semi big enough to go confront him, right, is, I guess, was BJ McLeod. I'd say Taylor Gray's probably next. Like, no one has anything for him, so he's going to be able to act how he so pleases. It's not going to be self-policing.
They're going to have to pull a Boyer to Newman and just like have him in the car, punch him while he's still in the car.
I'll tell you a story real quick, and I won't say any names, but there's a driver who told me that if somebody ever made him so mad in a race car, he would wait till he takes the steering wheel off, takes his helmet off in the car, and when he undoes his straps, he's going to jam his head into the steering shaft. And he said, he won't mess with me no more. I was like, okay, sounds good, man.
That's
therapy's only like $110 a month. Like, let's get you on that.
That seems very violent.
Yeah,
you might get escorted out in handcuffs.
That one might not make the highlight reels at all.
Speaking of violent, the violent hit that Connor Zilic took on Saturday, Will asks, should the Xfinity race ended like it did? I'm of the belief of yes, that was a caution. It should have been thrown when it did, especially after seeing the replay of the Zilic hit and how big it was, and how, thank God he's okay, but he became the priority as soon as he hit the wall at the speed he did. And then I think if they just had a clear view of the finish, and maybe a guy that is less popular than Jeb Burton didn't get quote unquote screwed, I don't know if we have this. I call it fake outrage, but this outrage that we see. What do you guys think?
I love seeing the emotion out of Jeb on pit road after the race.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Jeb is completely justified in how he feels. I'm just saying in like a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah. I think like it's a common sense thing, right? Connor is 100% a priority. He hit the wall a ton. There is a safety vehicle and an ambulance 45 feet away from where he wrecked. The field has gone by, right? There's multiple NASCAR channels. And I think Freddie Kraft mentioned this on Door Bumper Clear. All you have to do is say, safety 2, go to the 88. You're clear to pull out, right? That's it. Like, nobody else is coming by. It's a common sense thing. If this is Bristol and somebody wrecks down the backstretch and slams the inside wall, it's a caution. You can't see, right? If it's Atlanta and they wreck 15 cars down the backstretch, it's a caution, right? Daytona duels, not a caution. This, I don't think is a caution. Just deploy the safety as soon as the field passes by. It's milliseconds. It's not like, I'm trying to think of a scenario that's been similar, but it's not Jeff Gordon at Vegas where he wrecks from third and there's still 30 cars to come by, right? Like, the field's gone by. They're gone. You can deploy the safety. They have 50 seconds before that field comes back around, and the last 30 seconds of that, they're going to be half speed because the checkered flag's already come out. And if there's a bigger accident, obviously throw the yellow. But nobody would have been in danger if safety got deployed and they raced to the finish.
Yeah, in terms of like the way their rules are, where they don't allow that, like I think they got the call right, because you do want to get a safety guy to them as fast as possible. But I am with you, Collin, that like we should be able to let these guys. I mean, they're in the races back in the 80s. It'd be green flag conditions, and you'd see a guy run out there and grab a piece of debris and take it back in. I'm not saying we should go that crazy with stuff.
Of course, Massie goes with the old man reference.
Hey, I mean,
back in my day,
nobody
they were
got
smoking
killed.
cigarettes while racing.
We should let Massie do it. He should be the one, since he had the idea.
There we go.
I mean, that's part of the fun about watching.
We'll get you a nice little yellow vest. You'll stick out and you'll be perfect.
Yeah, like watching local short tracks. That's half the fun, is seeing like a 300-pound man run out there with the choose cone, and then he's got to go get the thing before the field goes back around. But yeah, I think like they called it right, and like Austin Hill was in front when the caution light came on. Like if you look at it, you can see that he is in front. So I don't think Jeb got screwed. It would have been.
I don't know what Jeb was looking at. I mean, obviously he's a little biased, but when he was talking, and unless they were showing him a video or a screenshot from 4 seconds prior, like the 21 was 6 feet out in front. It wasn't even close. So I don't know what he was looking at.
That first view they showed, which I think I blame the CW for, is like from behind them, where Jeb's on the inside, and you can't really see Austin Hill's nose. That looks like Jeb's ahead, but then they kept showing other views, and it was like,
you got to look at the spoiler though, right? Like the spoiler was 4 or 5 feet in front. Like that's, I know Jeb's frustrated because of how the race ended, and he's a phenomenal speedway racer, but he was good too. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, that was probably the best race I've seen Jeb. Like I know he's won 2 races, but like I feel like that was the best. Just the fact they recovered from that wreck to get up there. He drove a good race.
And he's in a car
that do that in a cup race because he can't pass.
Well, we're gonna get to that, as John mentions here. That the good old super speedway race. Thank you for the perfect transition, Collin. The good old super speedway racing behind Trey. Yes, it is. You have to guess, by the way, what race this is in our comment section. So no one has gotten it right on their guesses. So I've had to tell these 3. But if you can get it, I will. I'll show the comment on the screen.
Can I rant about a no caution real quick before we talk about
go ahead.
racing?
Go ahead.
So we had that caution, which again, I agree with the points made that we talked about, and I did appreciate that you could see the thought process of like it stayed green until Connor slammed into the wall, and that's when they threw the yellow. I was like, okay, you could see the thought process there and the concern. It bugged me so bad in the middle of stage 2 when they cut to the packs coming back together, and Kyle Larson is zigzagging between cars that have just come back, and they're still trying to get the speed. And all of a sudden, they cut to John Hunter Nemechek spinning across the start-finish line in the racing groove. Like, he wasn't, like, on the apron away from anything. Like, there were cars dodging him coming off a pit road and cars zooming down the front stretch, zigzagging. And I was like, oh, like, that's like, that's super dangerous right there. Like, what if he slides and, like, we have another, like, Kevin LePage moment and no caution. We just stayed green. They just kept going. Like, I mean, I guess on one hand, I'm like glad that they didn't interrupt another pit cycle, but these pit cycles, we already had one interrupted in the first stage. Like, what's the big deal? So that one bugged me to no end. I was like, what are we doing here? You cut to Kyle Larson zigzagging between cars, full speed ahead, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's a car spinning, blowing smoke right in the front stretch, like grandstands, and here come these guys racing through it, not sure if they're going to have to lift or not for a yellow for a guy spinning out. I had a big issue with that on Sunday.
It seems like go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
I was just gonna say real quick. It seems like when it comes to the middle of the pit cycles, somebody got to pretty much be dying for them to throw a yellow or in the middle of a pit cycle. Like, they do not want to throw yellow. It's really weird to me. I feel like a caution should be a caution, no matter the lap, no matter the situation. It's just consistent, whatever it is.
I was just going to add, in this world of, I say, self-evaluation that the sport is in, I don't see why we shouldn't have cameras and microphones in that tower. And I want to know, as a race fan, what the fuck's going through these guys' minds sometimes, right? Like, I remember Phoenix practice session, and I love Jesse Little. I think Jesse Little is going to do great things over there at Sam Hunt Racing. I think it was his first or second time in the tower. We had a blown motor. We had 2 cautions for wrecks, and we ended up with like 16 minutes of track time. And because it was taking so long to clear the track. And I hear what he's hearing or what he's saying to NASCAR 1, but what's being said, what's being relayed, what is the causation of these long caution periods, the no caution calls, the silly caution calls, the debris caution calls? What's the thought process between all this? Like, I want to know what you're seeing, what you're saying, and understand, like, as a race fan, right? In the world of football these days, questionable calls made, and they bring in Mike Piera or whoever, and he's walking them through the thought process of the officiating or the replay officials or whatever. Why are we not having that in NASCAR? Like, why can't we know exactly what's going on, what the thought process is, and have full parity in, I guess, lack of opacity of the decision making?
Oh yeah, the Xfinity race there, like, they ran at the end of the race, they ran several caution laps, and then they chose, and then they're coming to green, and then they waved it off and ran some more caution laps. And,
well, that's because of I did see a big chunk of debris there when they called off the caution. And
why didn't they get that before?
Full disclosure, I will say running lots of caution laps is the reason why we ended up winning Talladega in 22. So I loved it then. I loved it then. But as a race fan, watching it on TV, it's beyond frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
Noah Coleman, congratulations.
The winner.
You got the race right. 2004 Aaron's 499 at Talladega.
Go lay down.
So, as we move on, I show this because it is some good old super speedway racing, as John said here, and to a time. Before I go to Caleb to introduce the topic, I'm just going to lay some quotes out, some quotes and some information from this race. So, Jeff Gluck's was it a good race poll was 39% yes, lowest of 19 Talladega races in the poll. Previous lowest 42. Second lowest of 45 speedway races poll. Only the 2019 Clash was lower. It's the first time in the poll history that 4 consecutive races have earned less than 51% yes, going back to Martinsville. But the other side is Elton Sawyer saying on SiriusXM today, you had 67 lead changes amongst 23 drivers. So when you look at that, what are you trying to fix? Just leave those two. I'm gonna leave those quotes in the air, and I'm gonna allow Caleb to introduce our topic about the race this past weekend, the Cup race this past weekend at Talladega.
Well, Trey, I was gonna say you might want to turn that race off in the background because I see some like single file racing at the front. It might scare some people. Like I don't. We apparently can't have that anymore, and we have to make sure they're at least 2 by 2, even if they're not passing anyone. They have to be side by side.
Should my background be the interstate? That would be the same thing as watching the race this past weekend.
Yeah, because at least as long as a different guy leads the next lap, we can count it as a lead change. No, and it's weird because like each super speedway race kind of has its own, especially now that we're including Atlanta. Like Atlanta has been its own kind of monster and probably has had the best like consistent because guys are having to lift. But then Daytona, they've been able to maybe push and shove a little bit more and seem to make that third outside line work. But Talladega, it takes so much effort to get up into the third lane and generate a run. And then that run only lasts a couple laps that you get to the end of the race. And if you don't have a line of 5 team cars behind you from the same manufacturer, you can't pull out. Like Alex Bowman and William Byron, you would think everybody's like, why didn't they pull out there at the end? Well, it's because behind them, they had 2 more Fords right until the last lap. They still Noah Gregson and your boy Zane Smith. So, I mean, if the 2 Hendrick cars would have pulled out, nobody else goes with them. They showed the onboard of Bubba Wallace because he made his way up into the top 10 right at the end before the disqualifications.
20th and 10th, but he just stayed in line.
Yeah.
That's all he did. He didn't like weave through the field. He just stayed in line.
Exactly. So is this a track problem? Is this something that still, again, we every week talk about, is it a car problem? Like, where are you guys on this issue, especially as we get longer and longer? One of the other things is Steven Stumpf kind of mentioned, like the last 3 races, Talladega, Bristol, Martinsville, all have been pulling horribly just because there hasn't been a lot of events. Like, is this a track problem? Is this a problem where fans are expecting too many crashes? Like, where do you guys see this frustration with the fans and maybe some of this misalignment with what NASCAR is looking for in their overall product and in the super speedway product?
I'll jump in and start. I don't want to say anything that will get me in trouble, but I'm going to try to be as honest as I possibly can while doing that. It is a NASCAR problem. If NASCAR can't understand it and wants to look at phony stats and whatever other BS they want to say, and they think this is good racing, every decision that has been made in the past 5 years that pertains to this car, right? Lower horsepower, more downforce, everything about it has taken talent away from the equation of winning, like driver talent. Jeb Burton got wrecked on Saturday, restarted 32nd, and was back inside the top 5 in 6 laps. Talent, right? Car has something to do with it, but talent. Austin Hill is up front. Jesse Love are up front at every single super speedway race. Talent. Justin Allgaier, Eric Almirola, every mile-and-a-half race, they're top 2 in Xfinity. Talent, right? At some point, it's not the car. It's the same guys every single week. In the Cup Series, it is track position and car. That's it. It's not just speedway racing. It's every factor of racing. You cannot, if you look back at, I'm going to say 2001 Loudon, they put restrictor plates on the car, took horsepower away. There's less off throttle time. There was no passing. Jeff Burton led all 300 laps. You go look at the Coke 600. They took horsepower away, put a giant-ass spoiler on the car. Martin Truex Jr. leads 490-something laps. It's boring. We don't need passes for the lead to be a race to be good. Kyle Larson went to the Xfinity Series and kicked those kids' asses and put on the most impressive show I've ever seen in person. That was fun to watch. It was a blast to watch. The racing from 2nd to 6th was badass. I don't understand how any individual in Charlotte or Daytona Beach can watch a race on Saturday and then watch a race on Sunday and be like, yeah, that's better. It's never better. There has not been a time in the last 3 years a Sunday race has been better and been more fun to watch than an Xfinity race. Take the Xfinity cars, take the Xfinity chassis, take the Xfinity bodies, and throw an extra 150, 200 horsepower in it and let the drivers go frickin' drive. It's not that difficult. I understand they've invested all this money in the next-gen car and it can't fail and yada, yada, yada. The cars are more expensive. Their teams are not saving money. So that benefit of it is gone. They clearly were not safer in the first 2 years because we had concussion galore. So that is out of the equation. So what is the benefit of keeping this car other than protecting our investments? That's it. Take the freaking car away, go to an Xfinity car, put more horsepower in it, and let the guys drive. I'm done.
Preach.
I was gonna say, yeah. Noah here is saying car problem, 100%. You didn't see drivers afraid to try it. You don't see drivers try. Yeah, when Danny Hamlin's like, I want to get an Xfinity car in super speedway racing, you could tell like 2 years ago, no driver wanted to do super speedway racing. They still feel that way, but Denny's like, man, that looks like the old school stuff. Like they put a side by side of the two finishes, and it's night and day. And I've said on this podcast since we started it that I think the Xfinity Series is like the best product in all of motorsports. Like I would expand it that far. Like this car in the next gen car basically was like, all right, we're going to take our most boring racing and try to make it our most exciting, which is the intermediates. The problem with that is you did do that. Congratulations. They're like Kansas, Homestead. Well, Homestead was always great, but Kansas, Homestead, Vegas, like, you know, they've gotten marginally better. Like, you know, if you have a multi-groove racetrack, this car on a intermediate, this car is great. It was also supposed to be a better road course car. Well, it hasn't done that. It's failed in that part. And
on that note, Trey, is there anything more fun as a race fan to watch than a freaking Xfinity road course race where these guys are just brawling?
They're awesome.
There's nothing more fun to watch. These guys are driving the shit out of them, beating the hell out of each other, driving it sideways. Like, it's badass to watch. And so if we're going more road course racing, put the damn Xfinity car out there.
Yeah, I mean, watching Connor Zilic, you know, at Coda, like had to go through the field the way he did was so, or SVG had to go through the field the way he did. And, you know, we don't see that in this Cup car. And it's very frustrating that we go to Martinsville and you're talking about track position. You go to Bristol and you're talking about track position. And I don't know the solution. I'm not smart. I have a journalism degree, so I can't tell you the solution here. I think you're right, Collin. It's horsepower. They're never going to do it, which they keep saying money is the reason when I think every team owner has said money, it would be the same price, essentially. I don't know. Like, so if I'm playing devil's advocate, which I'm going to heavily face, I don't agree with. If you're NASCAR and you can sell the image to someone not watching of cars that are, air quotes here, going at full speed, at least you'll pretend they are, 4 wide, from a visual point of view, that's great. But then if you watch it and you're like, oh, they're just saving fuel, they're not going fast, they're not going all out, then it's boring. It's just boring. This is appealing to like someone who's watching this race for the first time and is like, oh, that's cool. 4 wide, cool. But you know what's not going to work? When the guy watches it again, it's like, oh, that's the same thing. Why is that the same thing?
Trey, are you a football fan?
I am a massive football fan here.
Okay.
Yes, yes, I'm a massive football
Go
fan.
Birds. What the hell? Birds. Go Birds. With that being said, would you watch a football game? Would you watch the Super Bowl if they were playing 7-on-7, 2-hand touch with no pads for the first 3 quarters?
No.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And it's not and on that note, and I made this point on Bosey's podcast, it's not the driver's fault and it's not the team's fault. right? They're playing the hand that's dealt to them, right?
Yeah.
An Xfinity race is shorter. Stages are shorter. You have to race. You have to drive your ass off the whole time. In every,
There were no green flag stops, right, in the Xfinity race this week?
Yeah, did green flag
Right.
stops. Everything about it is better. And I cannot stress that point enough. Everything about a Saturday race is better than a Sunday race. Everything. The viewership's catching up to it. Like, let's make that point. The Saturday viewership was in the shitter for years. For years. And they're closing the gap significantly to the Sunday viewership.
Helps be on bunny ears.
Yeah.
Unless you're
Prime
the
will be
Seahawks,
really
like-
interesting.
Yeah.
What is that, Caleb?
Prime will be
The-
really interesting to see.
Oh,
the
They
yeah.
won't have
numbers.
numbers. They won't have numbers for that because I don't think
Oh.
the NFL ever drop. Like, they drop a number for the playoff game, but I think it's always made up. NASCAR will get some interesting numbers from the Prime broadcast in terms of demographics because you get like that's why you want it. It's why the NFL wants it is data. You know, the NFL uses that data to see, all right, these people are watching it, and then they kind of get their like you can get the data about them. Like this is X, Y, and Z. That's gonna be a bigger thing for the Amazon stuff than the amount of people that watch. But that's a bigger picture issue which we don't want to talk about right now. But this race, like it was so like it was one of the hardest broadcasts I ever doing a watch party live. I will admit I was more focused on an NBA playoff game like the entire time. Granted, it was a great NBA playoff game between the Lakers and the T-Wolves, but still, the race was so predictable that I could watch it. I didn't have to like at Atlanta. Atlanta is the only track I would throw out in terms of the super speedways, but that's only because it's so short you have to lift.
Yeah.
And you can generate runs. But at Dega, as Caleb mentioned, it's so big that it's either you're saving fuel or you're all the way on the gas and you can't do anything.
Yeah. Should we take a shot? Because Elton Sawyer kind of in a roundabout way said we like what we see for this.
Should we bring
So
back
everybody
your
take a shot.
impersonation?
But Elton Sawyer must go to LA, see the gridlock on the highways there in LA, and be like,
Talladega.
"Wow, this is great racing here." That guy just nosed ahead of that guy. Now
That
he
Subaru
nosed
passed
ahead
that
of
tractor trailer 3 times in 100 feet.
Yeah, that's an amazing race. They're gonna
3
end up
lead changes.
broadcasting it. It'll be NASCAR traffic in major cities broadcast.
You should overlay like lap 27 to lap 30 of this week's race over like an I-4 traffic situation in LA. You should.
It's those shots you see from Christmas, like when it's like the holiday season, and even it's just lights. Like if these cars had lights, it would look the exact same.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is like, yes, it had a ton of lead changes because you got 2 lanes and this lane noses ahead for a second, then this one noses ahead for a second. Of course, you're gonna get a lot of lead changes.
Well, not to mention people are saving fuel. So the guys at the lead of the pack, when they decide, oh crap, I haven't saved enough fuel yet. Here you go. Here's the lead. Just have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ford's legitimate strategy was to go four wide and then intentionally slow so they could save fuel and control the race.
Yeah.
Like that was their strategy. Toyota was like trying something different and couldn't break away. I would have been interested if they got to break away.
Well,
Was the only time that was the race was interesting was when you had those 5 Toyotas up front going full speed, and you're like, okay, this looks like this is something different.
well,
was
it
it.
might work for them if Chastain didn't do the block from hell on those guys, but that's a whole nother topic. But I will say, like, I do remember Daytona Talladega races where you got the train riding up by the wall, and I guess yes, it is more entertaining than that, where they're just lap after lap. But that was always building up for something. When it came to the end of the race, time to race for something, you could go make moves, and with this car, you can't. Like, it's essentially it's so bad by itself compared to in the draft that it'd be like 2 planes going side by side. And you're a passenger on it. You're like, I'm gonna make a 3rd lane. You just jump out with a parachute yourself to try to pass these two planes. That's like how hard it is to make a third lane with this car, and I don't know. It just
but
on an island, I could tolerate this race being boring, but the fact that it's been 4 of my favorite racetracks in a row in Bristol, Martinsville, Darlington, Talladega, like those are that might be like your Mount Rushmore of NASCAR tracks, or there's a couple more in there,
Daytona.
but Daytona's in there too. But still, like those are some of your greatest tracks, and all 4 of those.
It's 4 of the top 5. I would throw Daytona in as like the 5th. Like
sure, but yeah, and those, just having 4 duds in a row like that is just so, yeah. And meanwhile, Xfinity has been churning out better races. Let them, for the short tracks and stuff, let's just have a whole nother car. You can keep this next gen car, run it at intermediates.
Do what you did when you introduced the car tomorrow, just a couple of races with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was going to mention.
They talked about the rung what you brung at Wilkesboro.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Absolutely loved if they just said, "Go buy an Xfinity car.
Yeah.
Go rent an Xfinity car for the weekend."
Well, Collin,
you just watch.
Collin, you're knocking out these transitions, my friend. We're going to talk about that in a second. I just wanted to add one more point. Massie, you talk about the train, like the train at the top they would do for like 50 laps. But the thing is, unlike yesterday, where Larson and Byron were the two, like, quote unquote, used to be the prime position, they couldn't go out of line to make a move for the win. Like, they legitimately could not pass for the win with 1 lap to go because it would hurt their race. Whereas if they were the 2nd or 3rd place car in the old, like in the Gen 6 car, for example, they legitimately could make a pass for the win. And like it wouldn't kill their race. Like they might lose. It would either work or they lose a couple of spots. Because what they would do, you remember they used to do, guys would like, as they enter the corner, dive down and then try to like, I don't want to say slide job because it's Daytona, but like essentially kind of the same maneuver.
The side draft thing and jump away and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was talent to that.
Yeah. There was skill. Denny Hamlin was really good at it. That's why he won so much. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was really good at like, it's just, it's frustrating, but and it's kind of shocking. All the problems we have for next gen and / the format, like the biggest complaints about NASCAR, you know what team it benefits the most? Penske.
Yeah, everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Shout Roger
Penske. I
Penske.
will say on that Speedway note, if you look at like the going into turn 3, coming to the white, Jesse and Austin were like 7th and 10th on the leaderboard on that outside line.
First and 3rd.
Half a lap later, they were 4th and 5th. And another half a lap later, they were 2nd and 3rd. Like, could you imagine a cup race right now? Like, if you went to the cup drivers and said, "Hey, listen, you're going to be 12th coming to the white flag. How do you feel about your chances to win?" They're going to say 0%.
You can say that with 10 laps to go.
They're going to say 2%, something like a chance.
That's what Denny was basically saying on his podcast about wanting to do an Xfinity race. He said, like, probably at Daytona, it'd be fun. Like, he could actually drive the race car. But Collin mentioned on it. So you touched on it a little bit ago. So the report came out that it was going to be the run what you brung race. It was Bozy who reported it and on his podcast. And he basically said that they proposed the teams. The team said no because they couldn't afford it. Jeff Glutt went on one of his all-time rants during his podcast about it. And then Denny countered with, it would essentially cost teams $3 million. Like for them specifically, 2311, where the winner gets $1 million. The math ain't math in there. So you can understand why the teams did not want to do it. And they said no. But the All-Star race will have a promoter's caution. So Collin, you touched on it. Your thoughts on the idea, and do you think this was poor execution by NASCAR in terms of how they brought it to the teams? And ultimately, do you blame the teams for saying no because of financial reasons?
So I'll start with, yes, I blame NASCAR. Okay. every issue that we have in this sport at one way is caused because of NASCAR. And that's not a knock on them. That's just a fact, right? They are the sanctioning body. They are the go or no go say person. Like every decision runs through them. So every bad thing and every good thing is NASCAR is to blame. The idea is great. We have to fix the short tracks in the Cup car. In my opinion, we got to fix everything. But, and I know they would never do this because it would make them look like fools. If they had said, hey guys, go rent an Xfinity car, we're going to go have fun in Wilkesboro. The Xfinity series has like 3 off weeks in a month and a half in that period, right? So if you go take a car out of their fleet, it's not going to matter, right? Joe Gibbs has Xfinity cars. They can get them from there. 2311, go to Sam Hunt or Joe Gibbs from there. Hendrick can go to JRM. They get cars from there. Rick Ware, if they don't want to spend the money or put the effort in, they go make a deal and say, hey, just let us kind of run around on this. They're not going to win the $1 million anyway. That would cost people a couple $100,000 maximum. They'd spend less than running the next gen car and going through parts on the next gen car. They will spend less doing that, 110%. And the only reason it will never happen is because the race would be too good.
My thing about this All-Star thing is it all stems back. Like we could have done a Run What You Brung or anything like that. If the thing wasn't still paying what it paid 23 years ago. I wish that all the stuff in my life cost what it did 23 years ago.
That's so great.
NASCAR is exempt from inflation, apparently. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. Did they not just sign the biggest TV deal in NASCAR history? And they can't throw any more money at the All-Star race? Like, if the thing's paying $10 million to win.
I always find it funny when it's like $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, isn't that not even close to like the biggest payout? Like,
I'm gonna contradict myself real quick here, though. I don't think that's NASCAR. Right?
You think it's Speedway?
I think it's Speedway because that's like the race that SMI has, right? They don't get the championship. They don't get the 500.
They get the 600.
They get the 600, but they get the All-Star race. And so I'm assuming back when Bruin Smith was like, oh, it's $1 million to win. Well, their profit margins went here and the purse stayed here. And at some point, this is going nowhere. So I'll contradict myself by saying I don't think that's on NASCAR. I'm going to say that's greedy business owners.
But it's not like NASCAR can't boost winnings.
But part of the TV deal, you would think that more money for NASCAR and the TV deal means more money for Marcus Smith and his folks, right? Where's that money going, Marcus?
I don't know. I'll cool it a little bit on some of the heat because I think the idea, at least, like the biggest credit I'll give to NASCAR over the past like 5 years, past half decade, is there's been some great ideas and willingness to try new things. I just think we're doing it with the wrong car and a lot of other things. And I think just logistically, I think this is it's a little too difficult, especially I don't know when they started talking about this idea, but if it was any time, like if it started after the turn of the new year, I think logistically it's a little too difficult to try and like actually fully make happen. And then kind of, like the $1 million payout versus costing $2-3 million to actually get it done. That obviously doesn't make sense. So as much as I would have loved to see it, it does kind of make sense to not try it this year. But hopefully, I hope it opens the door to some more conversations and things like that about like, what can we do? What are some other viable options? Because kind of going to the Gluck rant on money and everything is like, you have to spend money to make money. Like all these other, you got college athletics now spending millions of dollars on players to join their football and basketball teams and whatnot. And you don't have college being like, oh, you got the Tennessee situation where like they're like, oh, we're not going to pay this player a certain amount of money, but you don't have colleges be like, oh, we're not going to participate in basketball this year because we can't field the team, or like colleges are they're going to their boosters.
Tech kind of did that this year.
Well, in a roundabout way, but most of these colleges, for whatever, especially like whatever sport that they want to be good at, they're going to their boosters. They're saying, hey, like, where can we get some more money to like make sure that we're as good as we possibly could be? And just everything, even I've been writing the lawsuit articles, and still it's like just all this arguing and haggling over money to see like how little money we can get away with spending on the teams, on the drivers, on this and that. I just, you're in a sport, you're not in it to, what's the quote about like the best way to
make a small fortune to start with the large one.
Yeah, like that's kind of
the best way. Yeah, the best way to make a small fortune in racing is start with a big one.
Yeah, like
that's what Rick Hendrick said, or something like that.
Somebody, one of the, but I mean, yeah, we're in a sport. Like, drop some money to make sure, because if your product is popular and if people are watching it, they're gonna spend more money to go see it in person. They're gonna spend more money on the merchandise. They're gonna spend more money to get behind the scenes access on all of that sort of thing. Versus if you're running 150, 200 parade laps side by side, like ultimately people are gonna lose interest, and more are going to be like, I'm not going to waste 4 hours of my Sunday afternoon. I have better things to do. I gotta do my laundry on Sunday afternoon. I gotta do some chores. I gotta like take care of some stuff. I can't just sit down and watch these guys run side by side for 400 laps and not do anything.
So let me add on that, Caleb, real quick. I'm going to kind of touch on this lawsuit thing. I won't go too deep into it, but in the NBA, is there anybody between ownership, people who own the arenas, athletes, coaches, assistants, trainers, anybody that is losing money to participate?
Nico Harrison.
That's,
I mean, the Mavericks.
Maybe.
Mavericks, what they did might be. I would argue.
We'll go to the NFL. Owners, stadium, the NFL, athletes, coaches, trainers. Anybody spending money to participate? Losing money?
All hand over fist of money.
Yeah.
So why is it that in our sport, to participate, you have to risk and lose money?
The purse isn't enough.
No, I that's what I'm saying. Why is it that, I mean, shit, I tried to run an Xfinity Series team, okay? I did my best at it, right? We ran 2 races, made 3 attempts. I lost $142,000 in those 3 attempts. Ask me how much I got paid from Martinsville and Watkins Glen combined.
0.
$31,000.
Oh, okay.
So that's $110,000 loss in 3 events, if you count the Richmond rainout. So why would anybody that's not loaded participate, right? Denny and everything that him and Jerry and Bob and everybody at Front Row, what they're doing is the preservation of the sport. Why these team owners are not sitting here saying, we're not going to Kansas until you pay us more money. We're not. It's not going to happen. You can't go get in an Xfinity car right now as a driver without paying $50,000. How does that grow the sport? You need to make sure that the owners have enough money to say, hey, you know what? Kyle Weatherman, you're a great race car driver. You don't have money. Let me hire you to drive my race car. Right? That's not happening. We've seen so many. Brandon Brown, great race car drivers that have to leave the sport because it costs money. These guys are star caliber talents, great personalities, and we can't have them. It's the most back-asswards thing that we could ever imagine. And I pray, as somebody that's a part of this industry, that NASCAR has to open their books, because if that happens, it's going to be a shitstorm.
Yeah, Discovery will be really interesting, and if this, depending on how this like turns out, and if it doesn't go in favor of the teams, like if Michael Jordan and Bob Jenkins, Mr. Long John Silver's himself, if they can't afford to run race teams, if they say, hey, this is costing too much, ooh, that's
Michael
not
Jordan
a good
is the
spot.
richest man connected to NASCAR.
Yeah,
Like, he's a billionaire. I think also so is Roger Penske. It's probably between him and Roger Penske. But, like, Michael Jordan is a billionaire, like, with the B. You know? I mean, we have multiple billionaires in the sport. I guess you can, it's just, it's nuts.
The best owners
if
are
I
the
said,
ones that
Trey, you could go join the PGA Tour, and you're going to spend $55,000 to go play on the PGA Tour. Okay, and you're only going to get 10 grand back.
Well, that's the Live Golf thing. Like, that's kind of what happened with why Live was successful at the start, because they gave guaranteed. So here we go. Live NASCAR.
There you go. We'll start it. We'll start it, guys.
Hey, so Saudi Arabia, if you're watching this, we'll run the series.
Yeah.
Just all we need you to do is pay Kyle Larson like $50 million to join us, and we'll be set.
But seriously,
And can you pay Dale Jr.? I got it. You pay Dale Jr. $50 million and have him race. Come back and race. We will definitely be successful.
Yeah.
It's one of those. If you look at the sport right now, if you look in the Cup Series, right, there's about 6 drivers that did not have to pay their way there. And, it's Eric Jones, Chase Briscoe, SVG, Kyle Busch. They didn't have to pay their way to the Cup Series, right? In 10 years, there's going to be nobody that did not pay their way to the top echelon of our motorsports. That is a broken system. Like that, it's a broken. You can't.
Doesn't breed the best talent.
If you said LeBron, the only way you're going to be the star of the Cavaliers, the Heat, the Lakers, you got to pay us $6 million a year to do it.
He'd have never made it.
It doesn't make fucking sense, does it? Like it's no other sport is like this. That you have to pay millions of dollars to participate.
And you hear about like I was gonna say, you hear about like the NFL draft guys saying as soon as they get drafted, I'm gonna buy my mom a house. Like just from sign to getting drafted to play the NFL, they automatically, it's like an influx of money to where they can buy their family
in
a
racing,
house.
you hear about people taking out second mortgages to participate.
Yeah.
Like there's no justification for it. I don't care what anybody said. There's no justification for it. None.
Well, we're gonna wrap up the show. Thanks so much, Collin, for joining us. That's some great insight. We're gonna wrap the show with a fun one. I mentioned Austin Hill, and there's a trend going on. And I figured we'd bring it here. So, Collin, the floor is yours for the first one. If we got 100 drivers together, and past or present, and we don't have to list all 100 because that would take too long, and they had to take on a gorilla, a silverback gorilla, who do you got?
Like what 100 drivers?
Like if you could just, it's 100 drivers, 100. So the trend is 100 humans versus a silverback gorilla. Like who would you take in a fight? Like the key is like you can't use guns, but like all 100 can go at once. So that's the thing. So I figure I just changed it to drivers to make it NASCAR theme, but theoretically it's 100 humans.
I'll leave it at this. If you take the 100 active drivers, give or take, in NASCAR now, I'll take the gorilla. But if you take the 100 NASCAR drivers participating in the late 80s, early 90s, I'll take the NASCAR drivers. These guys are pussies.
I'm thinking, like, give me like Austin Hill, Ryan Newman. I feel like those are two. Busher, yeah, just some big old country boys. And
could the 100 current NASCAR drivers take Austin Hill by himself?
Yes.
Yes.
You think so?
There's only a couple that will have the
Jon
balls.
Snow,
to actually swing
Jon
on 'em,
Snow
but-
clip from the Game of Thrones. That's Austin Hill as they're all coming at
Yeah.
him. Or it's if you're a WWE fan, there was a one night where John Cena and Randy Orton had to take over the entire roster of Monday Night Raw. So it's like Austin Hill and I guess we'll just say Jesse Love for fun versus the entire Xfinity field. That's basically the super speedway races now. So it's just it would be interesting to see. But yeah, I think the humans.
I'll tell you, I'm pretty good buddies with Mason Massey, and we hang out a lot and do a lot of golfing. And I will rant. Him and Austin Hill grew up racing together. They're good buddies. They still hang out, golf, whatever. And I'll tell Mason, like Austin does something that pisses me off. I'll tell Mason, I'll be like, hey, like what the fuck is this guy doing right now? It's stupid or whatever. And he's like, you can go tell him. And I'll be like, no, I'm good. I'll just vent.
Hey, 100 people, it's a lot of people. But I will say, like, there's only so much space that you can fill in around the gorilla. Yeah. So like the gorilla can only fight, like 10 people at a time. And I think that might give the gorilla the advantage. But if the people...
I think the gorilla's teeth, man.
Yeah, so I'm of the belief that you would take, if you did 100 people, the first 10 attack him, like they run at him, and he just like eviscerates them very quickly, and the other 90 crap their pants and just run away, and the gorilla wins. That's where I am. That's where I'm at, because like I feel like people like 100 humans, they could get 20 a limb and whatever. I'm like, yeah. So the gorilla has thumbs, you know this, right? And is R.I.P. Harambe. Do we not see this? Like this is a large like animal that has no control. Like the gorilla is going to win, and you don't have a gun. The gorilla is going to win.
If the guys have time to play it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime and double his size and add giant teeth.
You take John Jones in his prime and you still lose. Like, come on, man.
Shout out to 607, baby. John Jones.
I mean,
I tell you, a driver that would put up a good fight would be SVG, because he had to grow up fighting kangaroos, and like those are pretty tough animals right there. So,
all right. What a way to end. Collin, before we get on out of here, one more time, plug Shake and Bake Sports and anything else you want to plug before we get on out of here.
Yeah, man. You can find us at @_SMB Sports on all socials, and check out our content on YouTube. It's a lot of fun. We're gonna have if you're a golfer, we're gonna have some golf lessons on there soon, and just enjoy the race car drivers having a good time off the racetrack. Just simply enjoy that and take it at face value, and hope you guys can become fans of these guys down the road.
Caleb, you obviously hosted Stock Car Scoop reacting to Talladega. You also wrote Thinking Out Loud this week, so check that out. Massie, are you writing this week? Are you finally doing your job?
Yeah, I'm gonna write this week. I don't know what I'm gonna write about yet, but and then this weekend I'm going to the Cars Tour race at Ace Speedway. Myself and Chase Folsom.
Ace is the place where the helpful racing goes.
There you go.
As for me, I will be co-hosting Bring the Heat with Brian Nolan this week. Brian Nolan will be doing his show, but I will be with him doing it, so that'll be fun as well. For Caleb Barnes, Michael Massie, thanks so much to Collin for joining us. I'm Trey Lyle, signing off for now. We're back next week for another edition of Happy Hour. So long, everybody.